Welcome everyone, Costin here with Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which feels perfectly appropriate to play given the events over the last 2 weeks or so between Russia and Ukraine. And this is actually a game that I've wanted to play and do a let's play of on this channel for quite a long time, but I just never got around to it. When it originally came out, I couldn't afford it. In fact, for a very long time I just couldn't justify the cost of paying full price for a game that I only wanted to play in the campaign, because I'm not interested in regular Call of Duty multiplayer. I've played plenty of Warzone, a lot of fun, but not interested in Call of Duty multiplayer, given my own personal financial issues. And on top of that, this game is very controversial. It has a lot of things in it, a lot of events that take place in it, a lot of topics it touches on that would just not pass muster with the YouTube algorithm. So here's a simple explanation of what's been going on YouTube since pretty much 2017. Anything that's controversial pretty much gets demonetized in one way, shape, or form. Now, they've gotten better at this, so you don't get demonetized by accident. They allow you to basically say, okay, my video doesn't contain X, Y, and Z, right? You fill a checklist, you click a button, and you're basically assuming responsibility for what the video contains or not. Now, it can still happen that it gets demonetized in that case, and you will suffer the consequences of that, but you avoid accidental demonetization. But a game like this, yeah, chances are, if this had happened like a month ago, if I was doing a Let's Play of this a month ago on that, getting demonetized probably would have happened almost certainly, especially given what I personally want to talk about when playing this game. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play this game on realism difficulty because of the limited HUD, and I am going to play it on pretty much the max graphics setting. So I have got 1440p, pretty much everything set up to max, HDR enabled. If I go to graphics quality, I've got everything cranked up to maximum. Film rate not the highest. The depth of field motion blur disabled. Personal choice, I just don't like that. But pretty much everything else has been disabled. I'm also using quality DLSS, though I could possibly crank this up to balance. This game is really well optimized. It looks amazing, but it's also really, really well optimized. This engine that they're using, I have to really give them credit, because there's a lot of games that can look amazing in this day and age, but they actually run like crap. This is an amazing looking game, though there are certainly some trade-offs in certain areas, undeniably so, but for the most part, this is an amazing looking game, runs very well, and it's an overall a joy to play. Now, here's the thing. This game has a lot of references and is heavily inspired by events that took place from the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan to the Iraq War, to the War on Terror, to Syria, Libya, Iraq 2.0 basically, and all that. And I am very knowledgeable about this because I've followed all of those conflicts for quite a lot of years. Ever since they pretty much started. Like, I started following global events with Libya specifically, and I've been following everything that's gone on since then. And this game has a lot of references to that. So what I want to do here, I don't want to play the game just normally. I want to play the game and give people a commentary on what this game is basing certain things off. Now, there's a lot of fiction. This is a fictional universe. There are some things that are simplified significantly because in reality you're dealing with a complex environment, political environment, military environment, and they do simplify a lot of things for normal people because it can take years to really understand what's going on in an actual conflict, and it requires constant following of conflict to really grasp what's going on. So for them as developers, they have to take that, simplify it, put it in game, and make people understand what the stakes are. Do I agree with all their decisions? No. I fundamentally disagree with the portrayal of the factions in this game, all of the factions in this game in several events from the very beginning. But they are representing things that factions that did exist in reality. And even if they have to simplify things or combine various aspects or change the geographic location of a particular event to make it work within their narrative structure and within what they know will work. So I'll cover all of this, and I'll just begin on realism. Let's go.
Our war is not for our fate. We fight to remove all foreign power from our soil. We are Al-Qatala. We are the killers. We fight without sorrow. We wage war without sympathy. This is the only way to live and die a true soldier.
Echo 3-1 to Charlie 2 actual.
Go for actual.
LZ is in sight.
Looks like our boys are right on time, Colonel.
Roger 3-1. Hitman teams are locked and loaded for assault. You are green to go.
Colonel, we may have a problem.
Too late, Laswell. We're live.
Not until I say so. Watch it at 3-1, how copy?
Station Chief Laswell, send traffic.
General Barkov has sent a new shipment of chlorine gas to his depot. But his mercs are prepping to move the chems into Urzikstan via convoy tonight. You're still clear to engage, but live fire on Russian military is prohibited. We cannot have an international incident.
No guarantees Russian army won't respond on this case.
Understood, Alex. Just locate the gas, commandeer Barkov's trucks, and get off the X before the tide turns.
Copy, Watcher. We'll handle it.
Okay, so before I continue here, and I'll probably have to pause the game like this quite a few times, given the pacing of the game, so there's few quiet times in this game, and especially after a conversation like that. So, two major things, the chemical weapons and Al-Qatala. Let's start with Al-Qatala. Our war is not about our faith. Well, obviously they wanted to avoid accusations of Islamophobia, and when you're making a game of this nature covering these kind of conflicts, in a modern day and age, given everything that's going on, especially on social media, and the way companies can be savage for covering these kind of conflicts, they want to be careful. That's my feeling on the subject. Now, are these war about the faith? Yes and no. It's obviously a lot more complicated than that. There are certain sects that are deeply extremist, but the overall Islamic faith, no. About the Wahhabi sect or certain interpretations of that, absolutely yes. That's one of the things. And that's certainly a driving force, especially for the higher ups of these kind of organizations, these kind of extremist groups. But there is another element to it. Of course, there's regional elements, political elements, ethnic issues. It's like everything that's going on in the Middle East, it's all about, ethnic strikes, sectarian conflicts, religious conflict, and all that. It's all wrapped together. And then finally, there is one significant element that I do want to mention, the economic aspect. And this is a real thing. This is actually what drives a lot of this conflict. The reason we have so many conflicts in the Middle East is because various countries support various fighters in certain regions. And it's also very profitable for people to enroll with a particular group, get paid the salary, make money, because these guys can make bank. Like that, there are many accounts of fighters for various groups. It doesn't have to even be extremist groups, but various groups, rebel groups, tribal groups, all that. They do it just because it's a means to provide for themselves, for their family, because they don't have any other options. There's a lot of young people in the Middle East, and they don't have a lot of options in terms of their income in life. So a lot of families do actually rely on them joining various militias, groups, armed forces, etc., to be able to provide for their families. That's a real thing, and certainly something that's driving the conflict. Something actually related to Ukraine. People talk about the insurgencies in Ukraine as if they're going to be the same thing. Well, here's the thing. In a country like Ukraine, in a country like Europe, you don't have the same kind of incentive structure, if you will, as you do in a Middle Eastern country. So things are very, very different between those regions, and I don't think that things are going to play out the same way for Russia and Ukraine, even if they do conquer the entirety of the country. But that's for the video specifically covering that. The second thing, chlorine gas. Would the U.S. engage with Russian mercenaries? Because that's what you're doing here. You know you're going to go engage with Russian mercenaries. Are you going to engage? Would the U.S. send Marines, in this case, to engage with Russian mercenaries for the sake of chlorine gas? Highly unlikely. Chemical weapons? Maybe, but chlorine gas is in kind of like a gray area between what's prohibited and what isn't, because chlorine gas obviously has many applications. It's used by police forces and all that, or tear gas rather, it is used. Now, chlorine gas is not mustard gas. It's nowhere near the same level of destructive capability of, you know, things like mustard gas or other chemical weapons. That's actually a crucial point, because there are chemical weapons used in this game, in the story narrative, but the impact they have is not necessarily on the level of what you'd see from a chlorine gas, unless it was a very concentrated dose, but more on the level of other chemical weapons. It's very deadly, what they show in this game, and actually divorced from reality. They do go much further. They do exaggerate a great deal in this game in many ways, and I'd say for the worse. But, you know, if you want to tell normal people who don't know the nuances of all this, if you want to make a point to normal people, it is a way that it does function. So those are 2 points. The US would not do this kind of operation if Russian forces, they back down, they'd abandon it. But hey, it's a video game, we fight Russian forces, because the risk of escalation, global escalation between these two countries, which actually does happen in the game's narrative, is really big, and that's something the U.S. avoids even to this day, certainly back then. But there's also something of a legacy of the 90s that you see play out in the narrative. So in the 90s, as the Soviet Union collapsed, there were concerns, genuine concerns, that a lot of technologies or weapons from the Soviet Union would end up in the wrong hands. Warlords, third-party actors, countries like Iran, North Korea, and all that. So the West did actually undertake efforts to secure them, not through these kind of operations, at least not as far as I know. Though if these kind of operations would have happened where they were fighting Russian forces or hitting certain shipments, we wouldn't have known about it. But these things did happen from a political standpoint, where the West did work to ensure that weapons were accounted for, that Russian scientists, experts, all that, veterans were kept on the payroll so they wouldn't go to secure their living elsewhere. That was a genuine effort, and it continued for quite a long time, even in the 2000s. So those are some of the things worth pointing out there from the very beginning, just from that intro cinematic that you just saw there.
Let's move.
All right, let's go.
All Hitman teams push to your set point. Roger, on the move.
We need to keep this on a tight loop. Barkov's men are moving the gas tonight.
Hey, what are the odds we run into General Barkov? Russian general wouldn't be caught dead out here.
And by the way, this is US Marines operating in Russia.
Heads up. Hearing two. Looking for us. Two mercs, no uniforms.
Что-то слышу. Сейчас. Эй, кто здесь? Выйди, покажись.
They're game. Drop them.
We're clear. Copy. Post up on the ridge and let's get the lay of the land.
Now, would the US go after Russian mercenaries? Well, they did in some instances in Syria, but not on Russian territory itself, or near Russian territory. That's a very different game, and that's a very different type of escalation. Because Russia, in Syria and other conflicts, they use mercs as plausible deniability, right? They get paid well, but they're basically on their own if things like this happen. And some kind of things like this have happened, but Russia will not tolerate this kind of action near its borders. So they're trying to showcase what actually so this actual mission is showcasing, in a sense, one of the events that did actually happen in Syria's civil war, where the U.S. did bomb and kill a number of Russian mercenaries of the Wagner group.
Echo 3-1 to Blue Viking 5. Call for fire. Stand by for target confirmation.
Copy 3-1. Viking is standing by.
Vehicle coming in the main gate.
Medium transport truck.
Transport for the gas. Vehicle's on the move.
Movement in the rail yard.
That's how the gas comes in.
Patrol vehicle. Contractors.
Security. Good targets. No Russian military presence. Call it in, CIA. Calling in fire mission 3-1. Blue Viking 5, Hitman 7-1. Enemies in the open. You are cleared hot.
Roger, 7-1. Target acquired. Weapons free in 5 seconds.
Heads up!
And that's right, phosphorus,
Good effect on target. Viking is RTB. Good
which they
height.
would not necessarily use like
Much
this.
obliged, Viking. We'll take it from here.
Now, people did actually have an issue with the fact that the the developers of the game were using white phosphorus in the scene. One, because the U.S. military would not use white phosphorus like this, and because the use of white phosphorus in this context would constitute a war crime. The developers are trying to showcase things that do happen. White phosphorus has been used in these conflicts, but not like this, to be clear, not like this. People have died because of it, but again, they haven't used it for the purpose of bombing a target. Specifically, they've been using it for suppression of a target, but the idea that they'd use that as their primary munition to hit a specific target, and that carries with it significant implications that are not so great. So anyway.
Hold up. Let him approach.
So they're trying to show something that has significant impact, that can have a significant impact in real life.
Clear. Force up.
Okay.
CIA has a zero-tolerance policy for these assholes. Looks like someone was playing with fire. Serves them right, hawking this chemical shit.
Yeah, the whole fire you're talking about here isn't because of anything that was on the ground, though obviously they would have an impact, but it's because you're using prohibited munitions here. Put them out of his misery.
Right, they got radios and guns. Put them out of their misery.
Got enemies inside.
Coming your way, go.
And I thought, yeah, I mean they make the point that the AQ like rejects religion and
Got enemies
institutions.
inside.
Coming your way, go.
Okay, I switched from burst fire, which, well, soldiers.
Element of surprise is not on our side, boys. Stay frosty.
Well, that door is certainly gone. Okay.
Stay sharp. We're blind on this breach.
Now, what's really odd here is that they don't have night vision. I mean, yeah, they have plenty of fires courtesy of, well, this.
Got an empty nest on that second deck. Flank up and take him out. Force out. We need to secure the gas before they move it.
Okay.
He's in the open.
All right. So I've taken a bit. Oh, grenade. Well, that's the thing about playing without the UI. You don't see when the grenades are coming. I didn't even hear that.
Grenade, move!
There we go.
Move, go! Run!
He's off target. Move now.
Ooh. Yeah, that's gonna keep happening because sadly enough, I do want to play with the UI off because of the immersion aspect, but you die pretty quickly in this game, sadly enough.
I got one by the crate. Got a visual.
Now the question I have is who's throwing that grenade? Whoa.
Got him!
Get lead on that gun.
Damn. Throw a grenade right there. And death is certain. Sadly enough. Okay, there's one there. Alright, there's still one up there. Gotta be careful.
MG down.
Nicely done, CIA.
Alright, that's our route. Let's get the Odin.
Get moving. Clear. Gas must be inside.
Unless we're too late.
Alright, we're just gonna go check something in graphics.
Clear.
Very well then.
Clear. Chems may be inside. Masks up.
Let's do this.
I guess that's why they don't have night vision. So they should still have night vision.
Go white light. On me.
You hear that? Whoever killed the powers in here, I'm telling you. Shit!
Find him.
Alright, that guy's gone.
He's down.
Nope. Okay.
Movement on the catwalk.
Okay, there's still some of them. But I don't see anything right now. Ooh. There's one on the catwalk there.
All clear. Let's get the power up. Shed some light, find this gas.
Roger, 3-1.
Light's coming on.
Power's up.
Hey! We got a problem. These guys are Russian army.
Spetsnaz.
3-1 to Watcher. Barkov's hired guns or Spetsnaz. We got Russian army KIA. We need to bug out now.
Negative. Command wants mission accomplished on this. Not our choice.
Never is. 3-1 out.
Verify this is what we came for. We'll set the trucks for egress.
Raj. Jackpot. PID in the gas.
Solid copy, 3-1. Load up and get back to base.
All stations, we are Oscar Mike to the RV. Watch your sectors.
It's good work, Alex. Rally at the hook point for egress.
Back off! Back off! watch you. I got you, 3-1. Shit. Who the fuck is this?
سيدي تعال بسرعة. مانو روسي. مارينز. أمريكان. لازم نتحرك. فورا. تحركوا. يلا. يلا يلا.
Echo 3-1 to Watcher.
Alex, what happened?
Terrorist attack. Multiple Marines KIA. Gas stolen. We need evac now.
Roger. Tracking multiple Russian forces headed your way. Sit tight. We're pushing to you for fast exfil. Watcher out.
This operation is now compartmentalized.
What the hell does that mean?
Means you no longer have clearance, Colonel.
Those are my Marines. We need a QRF in there right now.
That's not advisable.
And that is not your call.
Colonel, Laswell.
General, my men...
Norris, give us a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
We've got a situation. The Kremlin has suspended all deconfliction channels. The Sixth Fleet is pushing into the Black Sea, and chemical weapons are now in the wild. Your fingerprints are all over this, Laswell. Fix it.
General, right now intelligence is our best weapon.
We've tried intelligence. Get me a better weapon.
John,
Laswell.
where are you?
Occupied.
I've got a problem.
Russians?
Word travels fast. Chemical weapons have fallen into terrorist hands. They could be anywhere. Paris, New York.
London.
When can you brief?
We just did.
Sergeant Garrick, roger up.
Go for Garrick.
Terror threat level is now critical. Possible multiple attackers. Bombers or something worse.
Do we have snipers in position?
Negative, Sergeant. Can't unduly alarm the public.
Terrorists know that too, sir.
Garrick, don't turn London into a war zone. Clear?
Yeah, Crystal. Out.
Looks like we're on our own, lads.
We'll handle it.
Let's get it done, yeah?
A firm.
Okay, so a few mentions. So that first mission is also reflecting of the fact that various groups, insurgent groups, terror groups, they did get their hands on chlorine as well as potentially other chemical gas, and they did use it to a limited extent. Certainly not as much as certain governments have, but they did use it. Now, here's a point, by the way, to make. Russia does not have stocks of chemical weapons. Biological weapons, radiological weapons, sure, right? But according to the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, Russia doesn't have any stocks of chemical weapons. Now, there are claims, there is information out there that they do have biological weapons. So yeah, this is completely unrealistic. I mean, they did have until like a couple of years ago chemical weapons in storage, but they certainly did not have an active weapons program. Chlorine, however, of course, is a special case, but just worth pointing out. But what Assad, for instance, did, he didn't just use chlorine, because chlorine does have limited effectiveness as a weapon. He combined it with something else, mustard gas. I don't know, it's hard to say, right? But he did combine it with other chemical weapons in order to make it very deadly. That can work, right? But yeah, Russia does not have an active chemical weapons program, as far as we know, right? And as far as the world knows, biological weapons, that's a very different discussion. When it comes to what's going to happen here in this London mission, it's like can't unduly alarm the public. If a terror attack was about to happen, I don't care what people believe the government would do. They would absolutely send in the heavy guns from the very beginning. They would not screw around that, because it would come out. That's the thing. It would come out that they had known about it and didn't act on it. And in this case, in this specific case, what's going to happen is they had actually knew what was happening and they went in with bloody pistols. It's like, yeah, that's not the kind of scenario that would actually occur.
Sergeant? Heads up. White van.
Weapons in view.
That's them. Saber to Raven. White van, multiple military-age males. Weapons visible. Moving to intercept.
Roger. Unless an attack is imminent, do not engage.
White van, left side. Go, go!
They're here, brothers! They're here! Come here! Go!
Don't fucking move!
Police, freeze!
Whoa.
Get your hands up now! Get down on the ground! Right now! Not gonna tell you again! Suspect.
Okay. So let's
Saber 2, what the hell is going on down there?
There's been a detonation at Piccadilly Circus. Shots fired, officers down. We need medical down here now.
okay.
What they did to our home. Not done yet. Let's move.
Now, a few points. British police, maybe they wear sidearms in London, though I think it's only really in Northern Ireland that they actually carry them by default. Now, if they had been warned in advance, sure, you might carry them. But London police don't regularly carry their sidearms with them.